Lewis did there was he made the big moves, didn't retain the lead or didn't gain the lead, and I think he's just gone into, right, okay, let's just cool these tyres, let's just get the engine and all the systems under control, and we'll come again, a repechage if you like. Ted.
Clever race from Charles Leclerc. He's just trying to keep those red tyres alive, holding up Max Verstappen behind him. I'm sure Verstappen feels he could go quicker. Verstappen, of course, on a different tyres, longer life. Leclerc's looking at around maybe lap 13 to come in and pit if he wants to go to a two-stop. Otherwise, if he can push it out to a one-stop.
Gap to Leclerc, 2.3. Looks like his front left is starting to open up.
Just as you were talking tyres.
And that's what he's trying. Yeah, sorry, I hate talking tyres, but that's what Leclerc's doing. Just trying to keep those tyres alive. How long can he keep Verstappen behind him, though?
And what do Mercedes do maybe about the threat of Verstappen once Leclerc pits and the Red Bull is released into some clean air? Anthony Davidson is at Sky Race Control for us this afternoon.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, this battle between the two Mercedes. Great fighting on track, but I'm listening to their team radio, and they've basically been warning Bottas that Lewis is getting within DRS range. You can actually see on the screen there, he's got the DRS open going into Brooklyn. It's not that he can do much about it this time around.
What's interesting here, Martin, as well, is Pierre Gasly is within DRS range of Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is not pulling away from Gasly, and Vettel's on that soft tyre as well. Gasly on the medium, as we say goodbye to Kevin Magnussen from this race. What a shame for K-Mag. His British Grand Prix barely lasts 7 laps, and he'd been lapped already by that stage after contact with his teammate. It is, well, his first retirement of the season, and it's come here at Silverstone. Verstappen gaining on Charles Leclerc as they get to the hangar straight now, and I wonder if that Red Bull with DRS assistance is going to be within fighting range of getting near to the Ferrari by the end of it, or needed a couple more car lengths.
Verstappen trying to overtake Leclerc. What could possibly go wrong? So, what we've got here then, 2 Red Bulls that are on the medium compound tyre, both fighting just in front of them, a Ferrari on the soft compound tyre, and they're talking about it opening up. You can see it on the front left of Leclerc's car when we go on board. What you've got to, it's a clockwise circuit. Almost all the big corners are right-handers, so it'll be the left front that takes the punishment.
Only man to finish on the podium in the last 3 races is Charles Leclerc. He's got his work cut out at the moment to keep that run going, but he's certainly frustrating Max Verstappen in these opening stages. Another long straight, more DRS assistance from Max, but is he too far back? I wonder. Needs a bit of jet fuel rocket power to get past into Brooklands. The Ferrari is slippery in a straight line, but look how Sebastian Vettel is now closing up to Max Verstappen, because all the while Verstappen's bogged down behind one Ferrari, the other is gaining on him.
And it's letting the 2 Mercedes get away. They're stretching their legs out front by half a second a lap at the moment in relatively clear air as well. So the Ferraris on their counter strategy is hurting Red Bull's race.
They're coming up to lap Romain Grosjean, the 2 Mercedes as well, Bottas and Hamilton. Grosjean will keep out of the way, I'm sure, but they might be catching him up through the Vale chicane, which is not the best place for one driver to move out of the way. Verstappen gets close again, but can't get past.
Lewis moving up to the gearbox again of his teammate.
And further back, Lando Norris has Daniel Ricciardo right behind him. It's been a solid opening for Lando Norris in his home Grand Prix, running 7th at the moment, but Ricciardo is going to keep pushing and pushing. Meanwhile, Ricciardo's teammate, Nico Hülkenberg, still has Alex Albon threatening him as well. Sergio Perez is ahead of Kimi Raikkonen down in 12th. Lance Stroll is now gaining on Raikkonen once again. Race pace for Racing Point. Can't do it on a Saturday at the moment, but on a Sunday, making up quite a few places. Giovinazzi's dropped down to 16th, Fiat up to 15th, Russell and Kubica running 17th and 18th.
Lewis seems to just have so much more command of the front of his car in these slower corners. He can place it exactly where he wants. Valtteri a little bit at sea at the moment.
About Valtteri though, throughout this weekend, whenever you talk to him, he's had that little glint in his eye that he knows he's under control, he's feeling calm and he's confident, and I think the fact that he closed Lewis's lead in the championship just a little bit in Austria has really helped gather the momentum for him coming into this race. When the glint is there, Bottas is a very dangerous man. Only about half a second between the 2 Mercedes. Isn't it great to see, Martin, we're on lap 10 these cars running close together, being able to run close together and putting up a brilliant, terrific battle.
Only 2 DRS zones around it. It's quite powerful this year.
Verstappen's closer to Leclerc. Is he close enough? He does think about it. He wanted to move down the inside at Stowe, and Leclerc took the racing line, and very quickly Verstappen realised there was nothing doing there. Leclerc takes the inside into Vale as well, wants to force Verstappen the long way round, and definitely the Ferrari starting to struggle with traction out of some of these corners, because Verstappen is on the hunt and gaining all the time, as is Sebastian Vettel behind the Red Bull. Bottas might have just set a new fastest lap of the race. He leads by 0.8 of a second, but there's a terrific scrap here between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen behind it, and there goes Max Verstappen diving down the inside, has to switch now to go round the outside, the wheel to wheel again, unlike in Austria. This time Verstappen has to come off second best, and he's conceded a bit of ground here because Sebastian Vettel's right on his tail. Vettel goes down the inside of Brooklyn. Somehow Verstappen fends off the Ferrari. Gasly now might get in on the act as well.
Fair enough there. Leclerc took the racing line. Verstappen had to get out of the throttle.
Yeah.
And I say that for a number of reasons.
It was super driving by Charles Leclerc, it really was. Romain Grosjean's back into the pits again as through Copse we go. Look how Pierre Gasly is right on the tail of Sebastian Vettel. It's one Red Bull attacking a Ferrari, it's another Red Bull attacking a Ferrari, and out in front, Bottas still ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton.
We'll take this squabble, but they're waving goodbye to the Mercedes at the same time.
They are at the moment, as down the hangar straight we go. Verstappen's that little bit too far back this time to make a move.
Look at that, the car tried to step out when he closed the DRS, closed the rear wing and turned into Stowe. The DRS, the back end of the car really didn't want to live with that.
Let's go as we see Valtteri Bottas ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton getting out of the way to get some cooler air.
Nicholas, we are seeing front left wear.
Yeah, there's a lot of wear.
That front left tyre taking some punishment. Answer Sky Race Control.
Yeah, they're also, you would have seen him just darting out to the... Oh, he's just got to... Is this Gasly going to go for the
Gasly's
move?
going to go down the inside of
Job
Sebastian Vettel. Job done? Not quite.
Yeah, done.
I hope so for your sake, Anthony Davidson.
Ferrari's going to come back at him. Don't forget, they've got great straight line speed, and he's going to have DRS this time around. Both of them do.
Well, both have got DRS, but I don't think it's job done for Pierre Gasly, because Sebastian Vettel's got momentum, tries to go around the outside of Brooklands. All right, job done this time. Pierre Gasly stays ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Andy.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So I meant job done for turn 4, 3 and 4. But yeah, the fight always unfolds like we saw with the two Mercedes. So speaking of the two Mercedes, as we watch how Gasly did it down into turn 3, they've told Lewis Hamilton just back off. You would have seen him dart to the inside down the main straight to cool the car down. Following his teammate that closely, it's starting to overheat again.
And he's still keeping within that 8/10. Bottas has just maybe extended it by a 10th on this lap, but you can understand it. He's been running right up the gearbox of his teammate for so long.
They're talking about high wear on the left front tyre. Got more than enough sensors on the car for the pits to know that. And now it's Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari, and pitting then. Gasly pits.
So, on the medium compound tyre, Pierre Gasly is now making quite a bold move for the undercut here on Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, that's going to stir it up a treat, isn't it? Ferrari will have to think about that. Will have to react to that.
He's got a new set of hard tyres, a new set of medium tyres. There's the new hard compound tyre that is going on for Pierre Gasly. So this is the undercut where by pitting Gasly early, Red Bull hope that on fresh tyres he can put in an outlap. By the time Ferrari respond, it's quicker than Sebastian Vettel's current lap, and that they can jump him in the pits. That's the plan.
They found a gap for him. There's not much of a gap in the midfield there, so he'll have some traffic to pass. Will Pierre Gasly, but it'll be on fresh tyres now. The maximum anybody bought of those hard compound white mark tyres were 2. Most of them have got 1 set. This is a whole new territory for most of the drivers. They have not had chance to try these hard compound tyres. They got it slightly wrong on their allocation request in It's a request by the teams for this weekend. Ted.
Yeah, lap 13, absolutely textbook for a first of what could be a two-stopper, although if you think you can get those hard tyres to the end...
Valtteri won't be long, start using your tyres. Lewis will have DRS.
The fight for 7th is interesting because Ricciardo has pulled the trigger on his fight with Lando Norris. Ricciardo has pitted. Let's see if Norris reacts.
And whilst Ted was talking there, Valtteri Bottas being told by his race engineer to start leaning on his tyres and to start pushing, as into the pits comes Charles Leclerc and into the pits comes Max Verstappen. Right, job on now for the pit crews, because we could see a swap around here if the Red Bull crew can get a much better pit stop than Ferrari. Let's see, it's Leclerc who stops first. On go the medium compound tyre, and to you set on go medium for Max Verstappen as well. And look, they're now wheel to wheel down the pit lane, but Verstappen has actually got about a metre advantage, and they have swapped round in the pits. It was all down to the work of the pit crew. Verstappen gets ahead of Leclerc.
Leclerc on medium compound tyres and Verstappen too.
And even better, they get out just ahead of Carlos Sainz.
He's gone wide.
Has all the good work become undone as Verstappen tries to fight back and then sees Charles Leclerc swoop past him. Now he pulls out to go alongside the Ferrari. It's wheel to wheel. Down into Brooklands, Leclerc is back out in front of Verstappen.
And it was Leclerc in front who had the DRS, because at the DRS detection point he was behind, if you're wondering why the car in front had his rear wing open. So Verstappen really struggling out of the pits. A little error there, and Leclerc wasted no time in taking advantage of that.
All that good work done by the pit crew just as they finish their high fives. Max Verstappen had no grip and ran wide as a result. What a shame for the boys and girls in the garage.
So this confirms that Verstappen's on a two-stop anyway, because he's got medium tyre.
Yep.
You've got to use in a dry race at least two of the compounds available to you. So that means Max, we know, will absolutely have to stop again. So the good work by the team. We saw them punching the air at Red Bull. And it's all got lost in turn 4.
So look at this, Leclerc's out, and just that fraction of a second.
Well, the McLaren boys had to breathe in, didn't they?
Yeah, they certainly did. I don't think it was unsafe release. He was entitled to go.
He was turned in, and the front just wouldn't stick. Then he got a little bit out on the dirt and the slippery and newer surface. And job done for Charles Leclerc there. And I can imagine that's one very determined Max Verstappen behind the wheel of the Red Bull.
Right, now there was a whole gaggle of people pitting there. Lando Norris was one of them as well, Ted, but he's come off second best to Daniel Ricciardo in the pit stop.
He has, yeah, nice work by Renault. They have done it. The undercut has worked for Renault. Ricciardo, they are running a little less downforce. The Renault's running a little less wing than the McLaren. McLaren put a bit more downforce on for qualifying yesterday. Looks like it hasn't really worked for them so far. Let's see how that fight's going to continue, isn't it? Norris, Ricciardo for the rest of the race.
If you're new to Formula 1, explain the undercut to you. You pit a lap earlier, got the fresh tyres, the extra grip of the brand new rubber, even if it's a harder compound. Means, remember, they started the race, the top 10 on what they qualified on, so they'd already done some laps before this. So a set of new tyres, go out, punch in your best effort, and you undercut the guy who pits after you and get ahead of him.
And we're on board with Max Verstappen again, and once again Max Verstappen is trying to explore the possibility of overtaking Charles Leclerc on the racetrack. He's done it in the pits, he's going to need to do it on the track behind. Carlos Sainz is starting to hold up Pierre Gasly somewhat. Sainz hasn't stopped yet, he's running in 6th place.
That was the problem with Gasly's stop, it sort of left him in traffic, hasn't it? But Bottas has got a 1.1 second lead up front ahead of the DRS, the drag reduction system. You've got to be within 1 second of the car at the detection point to get the benefit of that. And you can be sure on this occasion at the detection point we just crossed, Max Verstappen will have DRS. He wasn't a second behind, he's almost on top of him.
These cars are quite wide, but I'm sure Charles Leclerc would like about triple the width at the moment, because where do you place your car when Verstappen's coming at you? What you do is you try and make him go round the outside and then dive down the inside at Luffield as soon as you possibly can without compromising your speed, and that's what he's done